Welcome to Debattle Royale, the podcast dedicated to discussing the hottest issues in esports and video game entertainment. Battle Royale is a Qrank production. This week we're joined by Super Smash Bros. Melee professional player, Chillindude. In today's episode, we discuss Super Smash Bros. Melee, Valorant maps, and whether or not the LCS should have blocked doublelift's trade. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Debattle Royale. My name is Aaron, and as always, I am joined by Austin and Olivia. Today we have a special guest, Chillindude from Team Liquid. Hey Chillin.
What's up? How's it going?
Chillindude is a veteran Super Smash Bros. Melee player who dominated the scene in the early 2000s with his Fox. Still a top Melee player, he also has a rap song with 1.4 million views on YouTube, a full-time streaming career, and has been casting for the past few years.
So, what have you been up to now that there are no tournaments?
Yeah, it's rough for a competitive Melee player, but there are netplay tournaments, so I've been doing a few of those. It's not quite the same with the lag, but on top of that, I've just been grinding stream a lot, doing a lot of speedruns lately. Picked up Mario 64 speedrunning recently.
I was going to ask
so
what game. That's cool.
Yeah, I've been doing a ton of that, and there's not a lot else to do right now during quarantine, so I've just been using the opportunity to stream a lot.
Do you play on
That's
emulator or do you play on a Nintendo 64 for that?
So I actually use Virtual Console on Wii, which is kind of the same idea as emulator for the most part. It has the reduced lag that N64 has, like a ton of console lag when you're playing it, speedrunning it, which makes a huge difference. But
Sure.
Virtual Console and emulator don't have that lag. So I plan on eventually switching to N64 because of that lag thing. It's considered like the legit version of the speedrun, but just been learning, so I've been on Virtual Console.
That makes sense. That's really cool though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you gotta love the little intricacies that speedrunning has. A little Melee-esque in that way, too.
It really is, especially Mario 64. There's just so much depth to the movement, and the skill ceiling is really high, so in that sense, it definitely reminds me of Melee a lot.
Yeah, I could see that. Do you mind sharing with us what your personal best is in Mario 64?
Oh yeah, of course not. It's 1834 for 16 star, and a 101, like an hour, 1 minute for 70 star. Neither of those are particularly insane times.
But you just started, right?
Yeah. I've only been running for a few months, so it's not bad for.
So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, for that amount of time. I haven't learned 120,
That's awesome.
120 star yet because it seems terrifying, but eventually I'll try to get into that too.
Work your way up to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're gonna, I guess, jump into the show part of the show. So the rules of the show are pretty simple, Chillin. Basically, we'll introduce a question, and then one of us will give an introduction to that question, kind of a summary and an opening argument. Then we'll open the floor to discussion and debate. At that point, it's kind of just a free-for-all, wheeling and dealing discussion where we're just thinking about the question and trying to learn from each other. Honestly, it's somewhat confrontational at times, but we try to keep it civil, obviously.
Right. Okay, sounds good.
Topic: did Super Smash Bros. Deserve to be dropped from EVO 2020? We're going to jump off with Austin to introduce a little bit about this question. Austin?
Yeah, so I should also, I think, add the ultimate here.
Smash Ultimate.
Oh,
right?
do you want
Right,
to
right,
ask the question?
so-
You can just record it after.
But, yeah, the basics of this is that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was the only, main stage EVO title that didn't make it on in the general online format, as a show match, essentially. So the other big fighting games, it's worth noting, did get a downgrade, but Ultimate was the only one that got dropped, and we also don't totally know why. So it could have been because EVO didn't want it there based off of really, really subpar netcode, or it could have also been just that Nintendo was kind of being stingy with the licenses or didn't want to show their online inflame things that way.
Mm.
Yeah. So from my point of view, it could be both of those. It also, so the thing with Ultimate Online is the netcode is very bad compared to. I was trying to think of a way to phrase that, like, in a politically correct manner.
More eloquently.
Yeah, that's the long and short of it.
Just gotta call something bad.
Yeah,
it's just Garbo.
It's not great. Especially compared to like even other older fighting games have better netcode, which is pretty suspect. So that's definitely a factor, and I have seen a ton of top ultimate players complain about, you know, how bad the online is and how it's unfortunate that the netplay tournaments are the only option right now because of how bad the online is. So really hurting the ultimate competitive community in that sense. The other thing, though, is that I've always found that Mr. Wizard seems like kind of predisposed to screwing over the Smash community whenever he can.
This was a good opportunity then.
Basically,
is there a reason behind that? Is there like a history to that?
I can't really tell exactly what caused it to begin with, but there definitely is kind of a history where I remember when Evo first picked up Smash was 2007, so ages ago, and at that point we had commonly started banning wobbling, which is an infinite that the Ice Climbers have that's really easy to set up and perform. Like, there's very little, you know, execution requirement to it. It's very, very simple. And a lot of tournaments had already started banning it at that point, but Mr. Wizard, almost like to antagonize the Melee community, insisted that it be legal. He was also trying to insist that items be legal as well, knowing that...
Okay.
What?
He, I guess, was just of the viewpoint that a lot of casual players have toward Smash, which is, oh, well, items are part of the game. You just have to learn how to use them. But obviously something that's completely based on, like, a random number generator where the item spawns, whether the item will blow up in your face sometimes for seemingly no reason. Like, that happens all the time. So that's obviously not fit for competitive play. But, he at least, you know, conceded on the items point, but he still insisted that wobbling be legal at that event. And to be fair, in recent years, wobbling's been a hot topic too. It's actually mostly legal until more recently for most of the years. But at that time, I think most of the competitive community was against wobbling. And so he kind of established that early on, that he has differing viewpoints about Smash compared to traditional fighters. And again, I don't really know the reasoning behind it, but it definitely seems like Mr. Wizard kind of, you know, goes against Smash when the opportunity presents itself.
So even though we don't know why it might have been dropped, do we believe that it deserved it or that it should have been?
I think in my view, it feels like it's like a nice slap on the wrist for Nintendo, but then the other side of the coin are like the actual Ultimate players who can make a good deal of just like stream money
content
from it.
Yeah, I think you can make the argument on both sides where it does kind of send a message to Nintendo, maybe, assuming that they weren't involved.
But I don't even think they care.
First of all, they generally don't care that much about competitive Smash, but it's even possible that Smash being dropped from EVO Online had something to do with them, as was mentioned earlier. So it's I kind of get it in the sense that for such like a prestigious event, you don't want to have a game that has really bad netcode when it's on, the whole event is online, because I think it'll be, especially compared to other games, the lag might be kind of obvious from just a viewer's standpoint. So I don't really blame them. But you know, I'm still salty about Melee being dropped from EVO. So
right.
Well, we actually have a follow-up question that was,
we had like a little pocket one.
Yeah, should they have switched out Ultimate for Melee in this circumstance?
They could have, but I think the reason that they maybe didn't do that is because Melee Netplay is an entirely third-party thing. It's not, made by or endorsed by Nintendo. So I think I give Mr. Wizard a pass on that one. I think that's more of a logistical thing where Nintendo might have a problem with Melee being shown online when it doesn't naturally have that capability.
Right. Do they allow like UCF on Evo?
I think the last Evo that did have Melee did have UCF, but I know that with Nintendo sponsorship, generally if tournaments, they either can't have UCF or they have to kind of hide it. They have to keep it low key. It can't be like obvious that this is a modified version of Melee on the stream. So
nobody talked about UCF.
Yeah. There's also kind of an alternative that people came up with, which is a little device that you plug in. It's called an Arduino that it kind of emulates what UCF does, but as hardware instead of part of the software.
Interesting. Huh. Well,
so that's another workaround.
Dang. That's super interesting to think about as well. Gosh, the modding stuff is always so weird with Smash. But on the topic here, I'm sort of split because on the one hand, I don't necessarily think like the Smash community and like Ultimate deserves it, and I do agree that like a lot of times, Mr. Wizard in particular has kind of seemed to have some Smash beef, and like some of that's FGC kind of Smash residue, I think, but like some of it is it seems a little targeted.
I think it's like this
yeah.
hurts the community more than Nintendo.
Right.
A lot more, yeah.
But then the viewers of Evo, like innocent fighting game, people who want to watch good fighting games, do get a pretty nice bonus in not having to watch Ultimate online, right?
Right. Yeah, I think so.
Fair.
There's a few like different viewpoints on it as far as top Ultimate players go, but for the most part, they all kind of agree that it's trash. So in that sense, yeah, the best player in the world by far in Ultimate, MKLeo, he actually just stopped entering Wi-Fi tournaments after a few weeks, unless they're like all random characters. He stopped entering, Wi-Fi tournaments and trying to actually play it as if it was an offline tournament because he won so many tournaments offline. He's just by far the best in the world. And then he started getting destroyed in some of these online tournaments.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a testament to the fact that the Ultimate Online is not legit. It's just not.
Yeah, I couldn't
it's a
even
real
watch
different
it.
game.
My friend was saying it was fun to watch, and I was like, I can't watch it. Like, I can't watch it knowing that it's not how it really would go. I can't watch it.
Yeah, you can often just kind of see that they made some kind of mistake due to the lag, and it's very apparent, and that definitely hurts the
Like,
the viewing
Hungrybox missing rests.
Yeah.
Because of it, I don't know. It's like I can't.
I mean, like, fighting games are just so precise that any amount of lag just fundamentally alters the competitive integrity of the game.
For sure. I remember thinking back in the day that Melee Online would never be viable because any amount of lag is so detrimental to the gameplay experience. But Melee Netplay has gotten to the point where it's pretty damn good at this point and definitely playable, especially if you're relatively close to your opponent, like, at least within a few states or whatever. Then it's pretty damn good. So that kind of poses the question, then why is Ultimate Online so bad?
For sure. No, there's not. Yeah, it's weird because the fighting game excuse has been used for a long time, but I really do think like though 3 frames or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever matters, fighting game players are also like really good at adjusting cadence and adjusting the rhythm, like to if something is set, like in the same way that Ultimate people can adjust to like having the naturally large input delay and buffer and still just do sick stuff. But it's I think
definitely makes it harder.
Yeah, for sure, and it definitely makes it look uglier. It's a lot spammier.
So
it's a lot
it sounds
spammier.
like we all really do agree that it. I mean, not that the community deserved it, but that Smash itself deserved to be dropped.
Pretty much, yeah. It's just a testament to the lack of care put into the netcode of Ultimate by Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, just for the books, we will take a vote on it. All in favor of the topic that Smash did deserve to get dropped from EVO 2020, say aye.
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 And all opposed will say nay. All right. So it looks like the topic passes, and I think that I'm going to reward Chillin with 3 final smashes for his excellent explanation of the situation.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, these points don't count for shit.
Oh yeah, I mean the points are made up
I figured.
and the rules don't matter. Which I
Okay.
think might be copyrighted and trademarked by different shows. So officially I didn't say that.
No one heard that.
All right. Topic. Which low-tier Smash Ultimate character deserves a buff?
I will introduce that because I'm going to keep it nice and short that it's Kirby.
Why is it Kirby?
How did I not see that coming?
I wonder why
don't have
Olivia
any,
might
like,
want a
technical-
buff to Kirby.
I don't have any technical things to say here, so we can get into some more serious debates if you guys want. But basically, Kirby is Sakurai's first son. He is shown basically destroying planets. He can hit an asteroid light years away with a baseball bat. Why is he F tier? That's what I want to know.
That's a good point.
That is a good
I
point.
have a similarly ill-informed perspective. No offense, Olivia. I think it should be Corrin because that's my main. Because I like how the lance comes out when you like jump in the air, and it's satisfying to me. But objectively, a bad character, so I think they should buff my main. But that's a purely selfish perspective. So
No bias.
I'm with Olivia on this. Buff my main.
No bias from either party here.
Yeah, no, we're not biased.
I mean, both of those characters are legitimately not like good enough. They should have better tools and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're not bad answers at all. I would go with Little Mac, just because I get the character design. Like they wanted to stay true to the game, make him very ground based, and make him just
Yep.
suck in the air, which he does. But the Smash is such a aerial based game that if you design a character like that, they're bound to suck pretty much.
Right.
And Lil Mac sucked in Smash 4 when he was introduced, and now he sucks just as bad, if not worse, in Ultimate. So come on, man, give the guy a chance, give him something in the air. I get that, you know, they're trying to stay true to the franchise a little bit, but it's Smash Brothers. You know what I mean? No, Donkey Kong can't spin around and fly through the air like a helicopter.
Propeller.
Like it's not
Right.
That's not a thing. So just give Lil Mac some tools to make him more viable, and because they can do that without. They can also stay true to the franchise, just not as true to the point where they make the character suck. So I'd go Lil Mac.
I'm not in the pro scene, of course, but I just feel that Little Mac has more to work with than Kirby.
I think that's arguable, but Kirby is certainly down there too. Those are two of the absolute worst characters in the game.
Was Kirby this bad in Smash 4?
He wasn't.
I think
I want to say
he was pretty bad.
He
though.
was bad, but not as bad. And it's not. I think he kind of has a similar toolkit that he did in Smash 4, but they've just made a lot of other characters better.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. Yeah,
Austin,
he just
what-
didn't get improved.
Austin,
Yeah.
what fighter do you think needs a polish up?
I think it's kind of hard to. It's always hard to say, but I really like the idea of just bumping up Ridley a little bit. I think
I was
that
actually going to
Ridley
say he's my
actually has some
second
of the
because
most-
he's my I agree.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You
He's your
already
other.
persuaded me.
He's your other mate. No, so Ridley. Okay, so the thing for me is that I think that Little Mac and Kirby both actually like have good intentionally bad designs in a sense, where like Little Mac can teach players how to like just spam grounded moves and like kind of teach them how to just like do quick grounded options. And then Kirby's very good for when you have somebody who like literally cannot recover. Like, it's just, you're starting out that much from scratch.
Right.
And then and I think that like some of the downsides they have are even useful at that beginning level. Like Little Mac, the aerials aren't really that important, so you just don't get that distracted by them. And then Kirby, he's so slow and like kind of plodding that you like never lose track of him, and you can just follow what you're doing. And you can also learn everyone's special ability like in a sort of a minute form. So I like their niche in terms of the grander design, even though they don't fit competitively. I think Ridley doesn't have that kind of design, and I think it'd be kind of cool to have this character that's actually like a little lighter, not quite like full on heavy, but still packs a really big punch, like has this really big hitbox. And so I think that if you balanced him to be like just kind of more Bowser-like, where he's just kills you in a few interactions and is scary as hell, and has like a pretty good command grab, but doesn't necessarily I don't know, I wouldn't want him to dominate the scene or anything, but I think that would be a pretty cool
I would. I think he's awesome.
buff.
He's my pocket main. I just think he's so fun to play. I mean, I challenge you guys, not Chillin. I bet you I can beat you guys with him, but
I don't think you could beat Mike Corin with Ridley. I mean,
oh man,
it could become some sort of.
I feel like you'll never
dragon
hear
monster.
that phrase anywhere.
No, probably not.
I'm also a Symmetra main in Overwatch. I do like bad characters. Yeah.
Low tier hero.
Low tier hero. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that Ridley's very like mid tier. Like he doesn't have. I feel like he doesn't have enough going for him that sort of boosts him to anywhere that he's like interesting to the scene. But he's not like complete trash, and he's not base. His moveset isn't super basic. Like you said, you can't be like a beginning player and be like, oh, I'm gonna use Ridley to learn. So,
Austin, what would you buff about Ridley?
I think I would basically give him a little bit of the Bowser treatment. So I'd try and give his command grab either a little less like punish window, like for if he whiffs it, because it's actually really easy to see coming.
Please do that.
It's really easy to react to. So it gets to be the point where it's like you just see the startup and you just dial up a quick move. So I'd make that move just generally more scary across the board, and then I think I'd like him to have like just a few more combos out of different options. He's got like a few nice little like 2 or 3 piece things off of like down throw and stuff, but I think it'd be cool if he could have like some like late hit and air stuff. I think that'd be
Chillin, what would you you said aerial combat stuff, right? For his Little Mac. Do you have anything in particular?
I can't really think of specifics. I just think I think his aerials, the actual, A button aerials should be legitimate moves that can do something instead of they're just like they're tiny little hitboxes that just like if they actually do connect, they do pretty much nothing. So I think he should have some ability to like combo with his aerials and stuff. I don't know about maybe specifics, just give him bigger range on the aerials and more of like sweeping motions instead of just like a little punch or whatever. Just to give him bigger hitboxes and make the hitboxes stay out longer. So there's a lot they could do with it. They just haven't really changed Lil Mac from 4, which to me was a surprise again, because I think he was maybe the worst character in 4, and now he's still amongst, if not the worst character in Ultimate also. So that's, it's kind of obvious to try to buff like the characters that were considered the worst in the previous installment, but they didn't really do that with Lil Mac.
Makes sense. Olivia, do you have any specific buffs to Kirby, or do you just think everything should do more damage?
I mean,
that's what I think
haven't
about
really...
Kirby. Like, just make him do more damage.
Well, he's also just so light, and I think I forget who my boyfriend was playing, but he just used like a smash attack and broke my perfectly healthy shield, and I was like,
really?
oh, yeah. I was like, oh my, okay. So he just...
It's really squishy.
Yeah. He just has a lot of issues. I just can't think of anything fun about playing him except his up tilt is sort of funny. I don't know.
I mean, for me with Corrin, I just feel like Corrin's in-air moves like require so much commitment. It's like it's really hard to, I don't know. I'm not a Smash expert or anything, but I was a Marth main, and Corrin doesn't make sense as far as like comparing the power levels between him or her,
Yeah.
I guess, and everyone else who's a sortie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Orin could use some damage.
Because you have to
You
do
wanna-
so much damage to kill.
Yeah, it's hard. Okay. So, should we hold the vote?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm gonna go through in order from like the original order that we went in.
Sure.
So all in favor. Should we say that we can vote more than once when there's 4 people?
Well, like 2 votes each or something?
2 votes each.
Okay, sure.
Wait,
What do you guys
would
think?
that work?
That seems fair. I mean, because otherwise we would just all
Because
vote.
otherwise, I'm
for
scared
the-
everyone will vote for themselves.
Right, right.
I think
yeah.
we would. I don't know if anyone's convinced anyone here.
I want those fake points. Frankly.
So let's say you can have 2 votes. So if you want to vote for yourself, that's fine. But
Okay.
if you want to vote for someone else,
Let's just say you
that's
can't
also-
vote for yourself. You have to
Yeah,
vote.
that's
Okay,
a good
that's
idea.
easier.
Can't
Okay,
vote for
yeah.
yourself.
Democracy.
Look at
at
us
work,
making
everybody.
it too complicated. Okay.
We're making it too complicated. You're right. All right. So can't vote for yourself. All in favor
Okay.
of Kirby, say aye.
Aye.
All in
Yes.
favor of Corrin, say aye.
Ooh.
Aw. All in favor of Little Mac, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And all in favor of Ridley, say aye.
Aye.
Yikes! People don't like Ridley and Corrin.
No, Ridley,
I
no
so-
Corrin.
voted. Am I out? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we heard you.
Okay, I voted for Ridley.
Oh, you vote for Ridley? Okay,
Oh,
you
yes.
might have not picked up.
That makes
Okay,
sense.
so in that case, I think Little Mac wins.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Nice.
So,
Kirby, you're staying in F tier.
So yeah, like Little Mac really does just have terrible aerial combat to the point where I just won't play him.
Yeah.
And if I won't play him, he should probably be like the one.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to see him get like a lot of retooling, because I feel like I'd be terrified if he had a lot of good aerials too. But
Yeah. I think it would have to be balanced out by maybe toning down some of the ground moves too. Cause,
Yeah, I was thinking that.
He
I was
could-
like, this sounds haunting, honestly.
Yeah, he could get too good real fast, but I think just the fact that again he was bottom tier in 2 straight games, something's got to change.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to award 4 in-game Fire Flower items to Olivia, but she can't use them in competitive.
Maybe at
Turned
the
off.
next Evo.
Yeah, maybe in Mr. Wizard gets involved.
If Evo ever takes them back. Okay. Topic. Who was the most toxic top tier Smash fighter? Bayonetta or Meta Knight? Or anyone else you can think of if it's not those 2, I guess.
Yeah.
Technically. But it's probably one
You
of
want
those
to take this, Austin?
Oh, I mean, these 2 are. I think Melee and 64 are different in that they're like tiers of just incredibly strong characters. So it's like Melee has like Marth and Fox and Falco and Puff, who are all like pretty good, and then you also have Captain Falcon and Peach and other people. And like 64 has like Kirby and Pikachu and Captain Falcon. And Smash 4 and Brawl were the only games where it was like one character was just clearly better than everything else.
Yeah, I agree. I think honestly, Meta Knight was probably worse than Bayo, because number one, Meta Knight was in the game at the beginning from the get-go. So Meta Knight was already dominating tournaments literally as soon as the game came out. Funny story, actually. When Brawl first came out, I actually had a Japanese copy, so I had the game early. And I was playing with a bunch of my friends at college, and we had a little tournament just for fun. And I love Squirtle from Pokemon, by the way. So I was Pokemon trainer main at first, and
Nice.
in retrospect, terrible decision. That didn't last very long. But you know,
That
when
sounds
the
like a
game
me kind of decision.
when the game first came out, I went all in. I committed to it. I was like, I love Squirtle. I'm going to try this, and got like okay with the character, but it was just a very, very bad character in Brawl. And so I held a little tournament just amongst friends at my college, and a friend of mine who just had never even remotely gotten close to beating me in Melee or really even in Brawl when, you know, we played more evenly matched up characters. He went Meta Knight. His main was Meta Knight, to be fair. He didn't pick Meta Knight because Meta Knight was super good. He just really liked the character and had planned on maining him before the game even came out. But we played this tournament, and this guy actually beat me in grand finals of this tournament with Meta Knight, who, again, just hadn't even been able to come close in Melee or even most of our Brawl matches. So it kind
You
of...
must have been so salty.
I was really mad, but I couldn't, you know, I was like, good stuff, man. Like, this is a new game. I guess anyone can be good now. But in my head, I was like, we all know what happened here. So I think that was already a testament, because with the game being that new and for the character to immediately just, you know, rise above the pack like that, I think it shows that Meta Knight was just insanely good. And just the design of the character is so predisposed to being ridiculously good, as opposed to Bayo. So first of all, with Bayo, she also came out, you know, a year, maybe 2 years even after Smash 4 initially, you know, was released. So that's less of an effect on the meta, just because Smash 4's whole shelf life was like 4 years max.
Right.
So that, you know, that's only half of it. So it's
But I think
not as bad.
I think community-wise, she was more toxic. I
Yeah.
think that the community
She
got like
ruined the game.
way angrier, way faster. And I'll never forget that Evo match with the two dudes just sitting there, you know, joking around, and everyone booing because they hated Bayo. Like the whole crowd booing at like the biggest tournament. Like that's just crazy.
For sure. I think in that sense, Bayo definitely ruined the game faster than Meta Knight. But I think that Meta Knight was just, he was there from the get-go, and he was easier to pick up. Admittedly, as broken as Bayo was, you kind of had to know how to play Bayo pretty well to get to that level.
That's true too.
See, I would actually
But
dispute that, because I think Smash 4 Bayo, like, I've talked to a lot of the Smash 4 players that I talked to had your experience, Chillin, where they would be like going to their tournament and they'd just be beating up on this one person or whoever, and then that person would pick up Bayo and then just win, just like learn the ladder combo, get one opening, and then just kill. And I've heard a lot of like carried by Bayo,
But
and
I think-
that was
I feel
huge
like-
in Smash 4 too.
I think Bayo is more toxic because just the way that she killed the game so fast, and how like just I think since the other game existed, with Meta Knight sort of being an annoying thing throughout it, but then Bayo be sort of like introduced into a game and like destroying it.
I feel like there's a question of Nintendo's responsibility in here too, because like with Brawl, it was harder for them to push like big patches and stuff.
Yeah.
It was older technology. They had the ability to fix Bayo, and they just
That's true.
didn't act quickly enough or at all. I didn't
They
play
did
Smash
nerf
4.
her.
I just remember everyone was
Well,
really mad.
So
They
I
did
think
nerf her
Bayo,
once, I believe.
Bayo was the last character added, right? So
Yeah.
I think they were pretty close to being done with, you know, patching the game by that point. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, I think it was like they knew Ultimate was on the horizon too, and so they were like, okay, we can't put more resource into patching Smash 4 and fixing up Bayo. We have to just move on to this new game, this new title. So I think that was a big part of it too. I can kind of understand like why Nintendo's approach like was the approach that they took there, though it's also very Nintendo.
It's sort of like Overwatch sort of saying we don't feel like doing any major updates or having new game modes because we're going to have Overwatch 2.
You mean like
Right.
right now?
Yeah.
Not bitter.
Yeah. But the other thing I think too that I I don't know. It's tough because I definitely, if we're talking like totally more broken, I really do think Meta Knight was more broken. But I think that one of the things too that makes Bayonetta more toxic in my mind is that I personally thought she was a lot more boring to watch, and it was like
That's why they booed it.
right, and it was
so
like
hard.
she would really rob you. Like she would rob another player just totally. It'd be like Zero just up a huge amount, and then he gets hit by like one thing, and then completely gets obliterated. As for Meta Knight, it was like he definitely had just outright better neutral tools than everybody, but he couldn't rob you nearly as efficiently, it felt like.
Yeah, I think Meta Knight was more of just neutral dominance, but Bayo was just that combo game that was completely unfair. Whereas Meta Knight had a pretty ridiculous combo game too, but it wasn't as guaranteed. Where I'm pretty sure there were situations in Smash 4 where Bayo literally could guaranteed kill you if she did the right options, after getting that initial hit, regardless of your percent, which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it.
Right. Yeah, it's like she had, like, I think really kind of two wobbles, one off the top and one off the side.
Yeah.
And granted, it wasn't quite as easy as landing a grab, but...
I mean, it was a little bit harder than that, but it was still simple enough that tons of people were doing it regularly in tournament, so...
You weren't casting at all during commentating, I guess, for Smash was commentating. You weren't commentating at all during those games, were you?
No, during Smash 4, no. Actually, not during Brawl either. I started commentating in, 2016, so...
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that would have been torture commentating those.
Bayonetta versus Bayonetta again.
Yeah, honestly, props to the commentators that managed to make
Tried
that
to make
entertaining.
it spicy.
Yeah.
Did you want to vote?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's move into the voting phase now. So I'm going to name the fighters in order and just vote for the one that you think was more toxic. So first, let's say Meta Knight.
Aye.
And Bayonetta.
Aye.
Okay, so that topic goes to Bayonetta.
Nice.
I'm going to give Austin 7 Marth grabs.
Yeah. That's a stock.
That's a full stock, yeah. For his performance there. Up next, we have our bonus round. Now, usually this would come at the end of the show, but since Chillin has to leave just a little bit early, we wanted to make sure that he could participate in it. We're going to be asking Chillin a series of short questions that we have devised, and we're going to hear his answers. Topic: who is more broken, Fox with Marth grab or Marth with Fox shine?
Ooh.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, a little tricky.
I would honestly say Fox with Marth grab for sure, because fun fact, there's actually a mod of Melee, a fairly recent mod that allows you to have shine on every character. And not only that, but you can pick between Fox and Falco shine.
Ooh.
So I found that with Marth, Falco shine is insane because it pops him up, right? And obviously that's exactly where Marth wants you. Whereas Fox shine would kind of push him away, and maybe Marth doesn't want that as much. So
This all sounds like torture.
it's really messed up for certain characters. Sheik with either shine is ridiculous.
Oh,
Falcon with either shine. It's actually a really fun mode though. But I would have to go with Fox with Marth grab just because that would open up so much for Fox. Cool.
Topic: Zane's Roy versus Armada's Young Link. Which is stronger?
I would probably have to go with Zane's Roy just because of, recent practice and stuff. He's been using Roy on a lot of netplay tournaments, and he's also just more in practice at Melee in general. Historically, if you had peak Armada Young Link versus peak Zane Roy, then I might take Armada Young Link, but at the moment I gotta go Zane Roy.
Do you think that his Roy would be as good in LAN tournaments then?
Not quite as good. I do think he benefits a little bit from the lag, just because Roy is a slower paced character, and it's kind of logical that the slower paced characters aren't going to be hurt as much by lag as the more technical ones.
Right, that makes sense. Topic. If the technology existed, should we mod L canceling out of Melee?
That is a really good question. I guess because I've been playing the game since the beginning, I'm kind of a purist and I don't mind it. I do kind of see the argument for taking it out, though. It does seem like kind of like an artificial execution barrier that, you know, that there's no real reason if you want to do it every single time, like there's never a benefit to not L canceling pretty much ever. Unless you're trying to like bait something. I don't know, that's getting too high level. It's pretty much no reason to ever not do it. So it does seem like a bit of a kind of just extra button press that just for fun, I guess. But
For fun.
I've been doing it forever. I don't think it's that hard to do, honestly. So I'm gonna stick with leave it in. Leave the button
That's
press
fair
in there.
enough.
All right, and then the last topic. Best Smash mod, UCF or Slippy?
Ooh. Well, if I think regardless, I got to go with Slippy here. Slippy kind of has UCF built in, but I assume we're just comparing the UCF benefits versus the Slippy benefits.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in that case, Slippy has so many. Well, actually, now that I think about it, UCF is kind of obscenely important too, because it balances out the kind of crapshoot that comes with getting good melee controllers. I don't know. This is actually a really tough question. This one, now that I think about it, they're both so important and beneficial for the community, but damn, I might have to go UCF. I debated myself into changing my viewpoint. I think it actually could be UCF, just because, again, especially with GameCube controllers being harder and harder to get these days, I think the fact that it kind of balances out different controllers that have naturally different values kind of just really helps the competitive scene out. But, so, I mean, Slippy is also insanely beneficial, but yeah, I might have to go UCF on that one.
Okay,
All right.
awesome.
Yeah,
That
you'd be
was our
surprised how
last
many-
bonus round.
You'd be surprised how many
So-
times we debate ourselves out of positions.
I was
incredible
debated
how
out
many
of
times.
Kirby pretty fast. I just heard Ridley. I was like, oh yeah, that's true.
You literally just had to say the name, and she was like, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm wrong."
Oh, man.
All right.
Well, thank you so
Those
much
were
for
the
joining us.
Smash
Chillin.
ones.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks so much for coming on.
For sure.
And was there any socials or anything that you wanted to plug while you're here? Anything like
Any
upcoming
projects
that you're
working
doing?
on?
Just obviously, as always, big shout outs to Liquid. Been with Liquid for 5 years now, which is crazy.
Wow.
And they've been great the whole time. And as I said earlier in the podcast, I'm streaming all the time. So twitch.tv/Chillindude. Check it out if you like speedrunning or Smash or anything in between.
And the link will be in the description for that, so check down there.
Sweet.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for taking the time to join.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me,
All right.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a good-
Absolutely. You have a good
All
night.
right. All right. Bye.
Later.
I think that it's interesting how different people bring a different dynamic to the debate. I think that's expected, and that's good. Because he is chill. I feel like it wouldn't make sense for everyone to be like really confrontational.
Huh?
He's so chill.
So he's like hella chill.
Yeah.
Guys, I actually didn't realize I'd forgotten I couldn't vote for my own pick. And so I actually probably would have voted for Qrank, but I ended up voting for Little Mac instead. But I'm actually happy that I ended up voting for Little Mac instead, because we would have stalemated. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I somehow beat my friend who's not very good sometimes as Corin, but
Nice.
with Chillin having departed, we will now return to two more topics that we have for you. One is about LCS, and the other one is about Valorant. So we're gonna hop straight into that topic. Valorant. Are Valorant map designs bad? So I'm sure there's a more eloquent way to put it.
We
or
already
to
used
phrase the
bad
topic.
earlier. It's fine. We'll
But
keep doing it.
I think that the word bad is appropriate for the Valorant maps. So here's what's kind of leading up to this is a lot of people find the Valorant maps to be kind of boring to play. So CS:GO maps are the closest analog because they're kind of similar games. They're the same type of game essentially. Valorant is like an updated version with new features, but the map design you would expect to be pretty similar. But it turns out that it's actually not that similar. With Counter-Strike, they've calculated and timed every angle, and the maps feel really open, but also feel connected to the rest of the map. With Valorant, it kind of feels like you're being funneled towards the bombs.
So, I think one thing that's really interesting is that there's a thing called the whiteboard test. I don't know if you guys have heard of that at all. It's sort of what like the map designers sort of use. I'm probably simplifying this a lot, but it's sort of like what map designers use. There's like 4 categories of maps that are created for first-person shooters like Counter-Strike and Valorant, and it sort of goes beginner, intermediate, advanced, and then expert. And they get more and more complicated, and as Austin said, they have more and more options of, different ways you can push, different strategies you can have, and the 3 that are in the closed beta for Valorant are all intermediate. So they're all just above the beginner map. The beginner map's more like Call of Duty map where it's like big
Really
open space with
straightforward.
and there's just like things to hide behind and that's it. The intermediate one, I think there is like they have a description for that it's basically those are described as having a basic understanding of design theory, but it's applied very literally. It's categorized by boxy floor plans with unimaginative breaks in your line of sight. This results in a room, hallway, room feel that doesn't create a lot of challenge for competitive players.
Essentially, as you advance, there's just more angles to check, but it doesn't feel like you're gaining a strategic advantage in the map as you advance.
Right.
Which
And then
feels really unrewarding.
The other problem is that the corners that they created are very, very deep. And this is because because Counter-Strike, there are no abilities. It's a straightforward first-person shooter. With Valorant, it's a first-person shooter with maps and playstyles similar to CS:GO, but they added abilities. And
like
so
Apex Legends type
right.
things.
So since there are so many abilities that are about sight and are about I can't think of the word right now, but blinding people's sight and like things like that they made these very deep corners to counter that. So there's a reason, but the issue becomes that people don't like having these very deep corners. They find them boring, unfair. There's like a bunch of reasons that people don't like them, but they're sort of a necessary evil when there's abilities involved. So then it raises the question, should this game even be like this then, if that has to happen? So it's just like a big thing. And then the new map, Ascend, is that?
Yeah.
I looked at the overview of that map, and it's very similar to the
very similar.
ones that already exist. I can't even tell the difference between it and one that I'm looking at right now from one of the ones that was already in the closed beta. I can't even tell the difference.
Honestly,
So,
when I watch Valorant footage, all the maps look the same. Like, I know they're not the same, but they all look the same.
and I think what people thought was interesting was that they are designed, I think this is where you started saying Volcano, they're designed by Volcano, but he also made the very complex maps for CSGO.
Yeah. And so there's 2 other things that I have an issue with on the map side that maybe not everyone else does. So I don't really like every single map in Valorant has a different gimmick. Like one of them has like these ropes that you can go up and down.
People had a huge issue with those ropes, saying that they were giving way too much advantage to the people on the ropes because it seemed like you were moving faster. But you weren't.
And you're like 100% accurate when you're on the ropes.
Yeah,
which is
that's
like
what made
really,
it seem unfair. Yeah.
really broken. But I don't really like the idea of every map being a gimmick, having its own gimmick to make it unique. I just wanted to just make a good map. You know, so I feel like that emphasis isn't
because then the
on
other one
point.
has the teleporters.
Yeah, exactly.
So you basically have a map that's very basic and simple, but yet you have these teleporters there.
And I
So
think
you're
that's
saying
what they
get rid of
think
the
makes their map
teleporters and just
feels-
make them more complicated.
Yeah, just make a better map. it's kind of,
It's like an easy way out.
I've been working with one of my friends. He's been getting into Counter-Strike like map modding. And so we've been studying a lot of the principles of map design, and like the map that he made is very much like that intermediate that you're talking about, right? Like he understands the basics of designs, but he takes it very literally. And I think that can make a game, at least for me, feel like a bit of a chore. And I think that's where a lot of people, it doesn't feel like that excitement of possibility in Counter-Strike doesn't translate for me in Valorant, and I think it's the maps.
Also, the Valorant maps are very big.
Super big.
They're like very big, yet everyone, unless you suck, should be pressing shift, which you can tell that I've been on teams where people refuse to press shift. But basically, you want to press shift to creep around slowly because you don't want to make noise. So then, when you're creeping around very slowly, the map is huge. And it's very boring to watch. Like I can see why when it was released early to just only people that were like streamers and bigger names, that it was like, this is what we're looking forward to, because it was people walking very, very slow for like really long hallways, and the problem is that this is not related to the map, but their designs are a little boring. Like when you think of a map like Overwatch's map, there's so many like little nuances and like lore, and I think that Valorant tried to have lore, but yeah, like Valorant tried to have lore, but I can't tell their maps apart sometimes. Like I think they look very similar. They're just yellow. Yeah. Like they look very similar, and they're just boring. And when you're watching, so I think from a player's perspective and from a viewer's perspective, the maps suck even for viewing because they're just so boring, and also they're so big, and you're just watching people walk like 1 mile per hour down like a giant hallway.
Like Counter-Strike has the walking thing too, right?
But their map's smaller.
But it's different. The maps are like, it's a lot faster to get to the point. Rushing's like a legitimate thing you can do. You can't really rush in Valorant. Like
no, I've tried. Like my team, when I play with like a stack of people and we were like coordinate a rush, the map is so big that they catch us with all the abilities before we can rush in.
Right.
It's like not a good strategy. It's like a terrible strategy.
Right.
But if the other team sucks, you can still try.
I mean, it's a terrible strategy in Counter-Strike sometimes, but like it feels like Counter-Strike you can like set up a take of a site. You can come from multiple entryways and stuff like that. In Valorant, like yeah, you can do that, but it takes way longer and is way less convenient to do.
Right, because
like you said, the maps are huge.
One person can, because if you're both trying to get in from a different angle, like I think like I'm newer to the game, obviously, but there's some different hallways. So one of the hallways is called like B long, and then there's B short. So the people on B long are obviously going to take forever to get there. So
yeah,
I'm not a fan of the maps at all. Like I had fun playing during the closed beta. Not when I was with strangers though, but when I was playing with friends, it was definitely a fun experience. But I just felt that the maps were lacking. Like when we started off, like before we knew before we were allowed to move throughout the map and see what gimmicks existed, I didn't even know what map I was in. And like people would be like, "Oh, I hate this map." I'm like, "I don't even know what it is. This looks like a bunch of dust. Like we didn't even move yet."
Right. It has one of those like old N64 like shooters, like GoldenEye or something.
It looks like a mobile game. The graphics, it's weird.
I mean, that's a beta problem though too, and I wonder if that gets better as they go on or not. I mean, because
I think they did it on purpose for the reason Aaron said. That's not really my real problem. I'm just
I think they want China to play it because it's free to play. League is huge in China, and like
Right.
it
Yeah,
will run
that
on a
makes
lot of the
sense.
older hardware that is in like the computer cafes.
Well, India too, because they're like obsessed with PUBG.
Interesting.
That's
It can
true.
be played on their phones and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
So,
PUBG's maps are like interesting.
well, yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting. I mean, I think the visual design is kind of important in these day and age. But yeah, I see what you're saying that it's not the main thing. I also think it's unfortunate you can't rush because rushing is also like hilarious. Like it either in CS:GO, it either like fails spectacularly and the team gets mowed down, or they run in
Yeah.
and they just like randomly win an eco round rushing, and it's beautiful.
Well, I think like the idea of rushing is really fun in Valorant because you're like go go go, and then you're like okay, put the wall up there so we can run past it, go go go. But
Yeah.
the thing is that the map's so big, by the time we're all running, they can hear us running, and then they
Yeah.
like throw like a million grenades and like ice things on the ground and slow us. They do like everything they have because they can hear
But
us all running
That
towards
part
them.
is evidence of good map design in a way. It's just that, like, I think it comes back to what you talked about earlier, Olivia, where because of the abilities, they have to design the map
Yeah,
to be bigger,
exactly.
and maybe that's not better game design because like Counter-Strike has these tiny maps compared to a lot of games, but those maps, there's just so many rich like places to discover, whereas I feel like Valorant's just that but scaled up, which
Yeah.
isn't better.
Yeah, even
Right.
CS:GO's maps have a lot of like little pockets and that have gameplay nuances or just visual nuances. And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Valorant doesn't seem like they have that.
So
All
do we
right.
want to vote? I mean, it sounds like we're pretty we're pretty
Yeah.
much on board with
Yeah.
the map design is probably not great. So
We can just assume that if you
all
want.
all in favor of the topic that Valorant map designs are bad, say aye.
I
Aye. All right. I'm going to award one Sonic thumbs up, like Sonic the Hedgehog thumbs up, to Olivia for all of her analysis there on the maps. We appreciate all of
Yay.
that
Very speed
insight.
focused in its way.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm selling that Sonic thumbs up reward to DeviantArt.
Oh man, they're just gonna steal it though. So
I just get a stock in Melee and you get to yell at people about your OC on DeviantArt.
all right.
All right.
Topic: should the LCS have blocked the doublelift trade? We're gonna pass this one off to Austin to fill us in on the deets.
Yeah. So this is what Thorin is calling the TSM Holy War. So this is basically a situation where doublelift is dating Lena, who is the president of operations at TSM. And people had already pointed out that this could be a conflict of interest at Team Liquid. But basically, now that he's at TSM, it's like really come to the fore. So initially, they allowed the trade to go through, and it didn't really seem like much of an issue. And then Lena, while streaming, or while Doublelift was streaming, Lena was taking work calls about the team, and she was heard over Doublelift's mic saying,
Oh no.
yeah, so this is where it gets bad. She was heard over Doublelift's mic saying, nobody wants Dardoch. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with him, essentially. The jungler, the team's
I did
jungler.
hear about this.
So this reignited everything, like, because it just immediately showed a lot of, I think, League's younger, more naive fans how this could be bad, even without something overt, even with like every party trying to operate in a moral fashion, how this could actually be bad. So now there's a lot more talk about whether or not the LCS should have stepped in and blocked this this trade because of the conflict of interest. The other side of the story that I'll give really quickly is
before you do that, can you give me a little bit of context, clarifying question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Has the LCS blocked trades before? Is that like a thing that they can do and have done, or would that be like a first time that's happened?
I believe that they can. I'm pretty sure it's allowed within the contracts and such. in the same way where the NBA can and has blocked trades.
Right.
I think there might have been one instance where League blocked a trade. I'm not 100% sure though, and it wasn't. I don't think for conflict of interest it did happen. That's a good question. I actually can't quite remember. Been a various amount of rigmarole.
Well, when I Googled it, I only see stuff about this, so maybe they haven't before.
It's possible,
okay, anyway, sorry. What's the other side of the story?
Other side of the story, Reginald released a thing, and he basically said, look, Lena's more like about talent acquisition, expanding the brand. I'm still more the guy that's here for like League, and like that's more like our other people. So Lena isn't even really making League decisions. So it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal that these two are dating. Essentially. So yeah.
But
I feel
something
that,
bad already happened.
But I feel that that's where Doublelift would have ended up either way.
Well, if he blocks the trade, he can't go there. Right. But I guess I see what you're saying in that maybe Doublelift becomes like a free agent or something, or pursues like a buyout. Which maybe, yeah. That could happen. They could also block Doublelift going on to TSM entirely.
I feel like one of the other questions is like, so Doublelift has been not performing great at Team Liquid, right?
No. This is his worst split probably in his career.
How much of that was intentional because he wanted to go to TSM? Like the conflict of interest introduces questions that you have, right?
So he was actually asked that, and he did answer that in a video, and said that he would never, he would never purposely be bad, and he has a lot of pride in his performance, and he's really embarrassed about everything that happened.
I could see that, because like DeFran just openly threw stuff, and like he's like a
troll. I think that I mean I can't say, but I guess just for the sake of arguing both sides, I feel that Doublelift truly was just sick of I think he gets bored of being on top, and he gets bored of being with similar people. And also he did open up about some other controversies where basically he wanted X-Smithy to stay, and when the team got rid of him, he basically like a kid sort of, but basically was just like, well, fuck that. I don't want to play then. You guys didn't do what I wanted, and you guys did something wrong. And since then, he sort of had like a negative attitude. And
so he's a little resentful, maybe.
Yeah, and I think he even admitted that. So I don't think it was with the goal of TSM in his mind
fair.
at that point.
I was just curious because like I don't know Doublelift
what do you think,
really
Austin?
well.
I've only spoken to him a few times. I don't know him personally. I've only spoken to him a few times.
I never even did during like the time he was here. But I don't know, just from watching League and his personality, and he's always seemed to be a very honest, very straightforward player, and he's always seemed to be very competitive. So it would shock me if he threw games like at all for TSM's sake because of that, or if he threw games to get on TSM and off Team Liquid. Especially because you can tear up the game, and you can still just be such a nuisance in the background that you can get thrown off. It's happened.
That's true.
Yeah, so I don't know.
It happened to Doublelift. No, I'm just kidding.
That was how he got thrown off of CLG, I believe. But
so why do you think that LCS should have come in?
I'm a little bit up in the air on this myself. On the one hand, I can understand where TSM's coming from, but on the other hand, I think I can understand where Thorin and them are coming from too, and that like this is a president of operations for like a big team, and I understand a relationship is a relationship and that kind of thing, but like that's pretty big. Like that's in a lot of other competitive circumstances that would be huge news. Like that'd be talked about all the time. And I do think some of the like youngness and the naivety of esports was a reason why it wasn't instantly talked about more. Why it even took a controversy to talk about it more.
So I think what a lot of people have been saying too is that TSM and LCS have like a really good relationship, and
Yeah.
they feel that TSM is abusing their power within the LCS doing this.
Yeah, that could be it too. People have also pointed out that Bjergsen and doublelift are both in like big positions within the Players Association. And so it's like, well, of course, then the Players Association is not going to say anything about this either, right? Yeah, I think that on the other end of it, if you're looking at it in the terms of like, oh, this is not that big of a deal, you can look at it in the sense of like, if doublelift just turned his noise gate on, if that one detective person, because it was hard to hear, if that one detective person didn't freaking zoom in on Lena's words, like, then we wouldn't even be here, right? Like it wouldn't have even been a thing. And there are reasons to trust doublelift based off of his reputation.
So, what are the rules that you feel TSM was breaking that the LCS should have stepped in for integrity
I know the LCS did an investigation.
They did. And there's generic, like most esport rules are super generic. Like, like the Overwatches, like Blizzard's rules that they used against the players in the Hong Kong scenario were like super generic. It's just like stuff you could, if you wanted to, you could put that on almost any sort of speech with enough leave. And that's how I felt it is here. It was like very generic conflict of interest ruling. And it sort of sets up a lot of wiggle room because esports is so new, I think. So I don't know. It breaks the essential, like a very generic rule that Riot is subject to redefining anyway. And this is something that's pissed off like Monte Cristo prior, right? This is why he's got the axe to grind, because these similarly generic rules kind of outed him from the league after the RNG fiasco.
Could you explain more about that?
That's its own whole thing. Kind of almost maybe indirectly led to a player's death, but definitely led to a very shady medical situation. Basically, he was with a really bad figure in esports named Chris Badawi. He opened up the team Renegades, still around today. And in League, they had a terrible, terrible team environment where they got this young trans support player basically offering for her to continue playing and to continue pushing through a lot of mental barriers in order to be paid out with a surgery, a bottom surgery.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it went like about as bad as it could have gone. And basically,
Horrible.
Riot didn't release any information out of respect to the victims of the scenario. Like, that was why. So they didn't say much, but at the time, they basically were like, RNG's completely out. This team is not allowed back in. The whole org gets this fine, essentially. And then they pushed Monty and Chris Badawi both out. I think Chris Badawi in particular, but yeah, that's the basics. There's a lot more to it than even that. But
yeah, that sounds like a situation that we'll have to get into another time, but wow.
Yeah.
It's
something.
I've had to write about it before. It's definitely horrifying.
Yeah, same here. It's and basically that's like, that was just another situation where there was a lot of genericness in the rules that let Riot respond in ways that were both good and bad, I guess, if it makes sense.
Yeah, I could see that. And
we're seeing that here too. So yeah, it could be that, they don't want, they understand that TSM doublelift is such a huge thing, right? Like, you want to see him reunite with his old team. You want to see him go back to a top team that has an established brand identity, especially one that's like anti-TL, and you want it for your narratives. You want more video features of TSM doublelift. So there's that cynical view of it too, right? Where if you're thinking about this question from a purely cynical viewpoint, which is should the LCS have blocked the doublelift trade, one other end you can look at is, well, what about viewership? What about the league? Well, this might be best for the league in that way.
Yeah, they might have just not wanted to deal with the whole thing anymore. I mean, I don't know how much Riot or LCS had to really deal with doublelift's attitude and everything, but it really was all anyone talked about. I know from experience it's like all anyone wrote about. Like it was literally like the highlight of the otherwise pretty boring spring split.
Yeah.
Seems like he's a bit of a prima donna, maybe.
Oh,
Not,
yeah.
You know, likes the drama, maybe.
He definitely likes drama to an extent, but he also just really likes things going his way, and he's used to them going his way. He's a top player. He's like the most popular North American player. So he does have a lot of pull in that sense.
Yeah, and Doublelift's personality is, very media friendly.
And I think that the LCS might have not wanted to see him fail a second season in a row.
Right. No, I think they really didn't want to see him get
because
stuck
LCS is very boring to watch compared to other regions.
Yeah, right. That's what I think too. And I think you getting either losing Doublelift for the season to streaming, because he could have done that. He's done that before. He would be willing to do it again. Or going on and off on the bench for Team Liquid with Tactical. Or,
that was torture.
Right. Or going all the way to like some team, even if he went to like a pretty good team. Like
Doublelift
EG.
said that he would not go to a bad team. So if he didn't get to be on TSM, he probably would have quit.
Right.
And LCS would rather have him than not.
Right.
Yeah.
He said that if he didn't get to be, he said that there was only 3 teams he would consider, with TSM being one of them. And if he didn't get onto those teams, then he just was out.
Yeah.
So I guess the question comes down to like a comparison of impacts, because it sounds like for viewers, it's probably better for Doublelift to not have the blocked, but maybe maybe for Doublelift and for these teams, and maybe for the LCS, maybe it's better for everybody that he doesn't get blocked, but there's still that pressing question of the precedent.
Yes.
Like, is this a precedent we want to set? Do we want esports to have this informal lack of accountability? Because that's been what gets esports in trouble a lot. So it seems unprofessional. So I guess it comes down to comparing those two impacts, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really like between the sort of like, do you keep this harmony that has this generally beneficial thing for the league, or do you be intellectual about this, right? Or not intellectual, but I guess like, yeah, like you're saying.
Idealistic.
Yeah, exactly. Do you look at the idealism?
I'm interested to see how this vote goes.
Yeah, me too.
I'm interested to see how the vote goes too.
All right.
Should we vote?
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
pretty
so.
interested.
All right. So the topic is, should the LCS have blocked the Doublelift trade? Those who think the LCS should have blocked the Doublelift trade say aye. Aye. And those who are opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so I guess ayes have it. We end up erring on the idealistic side, and being concerned about the precedent that is set here.
I think that's somehow
I am upset
that's
about
fitting
that.
for us who argue about the idealism of Tom Nook
It
for
is.
like 45 minutes.
But I think for me, I don't want to harp on this topic, but I think for me why I chose nay is that I don't think there's enough proof that it was 100%, 100%, yeah. So I just
fair
can't.
enough.
And since it can't be proven 100%, I like that he was traded, because it was very boring seeing Team Liquid do so bad because of one person, like sort of purposely making them bad. And I slightly did want to see him push himself in the summer split and see if they like came back. I thought that would be sort of an exciting arc, but I think that this is better. So
yeah, and I'm pretty torn on the issue. Like, I think that for me, esports has been really frustrating space to watch kind of operate in these weird gray areas. So like, I want to call that out, but also Doublelift's situation is unique. Everyone's situation is individual, and the LCS I don't think did a totally wrong thing by not blocking it.
I'm there too, because I think when you look at the precedent, like, and you look at the ideal of it, it does seem very like, okay, don't allow this. But at the same time, like, I don't know, based on the individual actors, it seems like they handle it very morally, and it's not like, it's not a big deal in a way. I don't know. It's tough. It is tough. Yeah, I see what you're saying too, Olivia. Part of my thing too is that I think what made me switch to I fully was that I thought it would be interesting actually to see him go to another team that wasn't TSM, like go to like EG or something like that, and like put this like player who had always been on like the big marquee legacy orgs and just like put him on an entirely new one and see if he could.
I think he would have stayed with Team Liquid though.
Could have been. I
don't think he would accept being on a bad team, and he made it clear himself in his own blog.
EG and FlyQuest did better. Well, EG didn't do better, but FlyQuest did better than TSM, and EG was pretty hot and has a player he likes. So I thought that might be a target for him. But
yeah.
But either way, I don't know. That was part of my reasoning, but I see what you're saying.
So I'm going to award Olivia with 6 Banjo-Kazooie feathers.
Oh my god!
Yay! Are those even worth anything?
Probably not. I don't know.
They're the Wonder Wing
exotic
feathers.
Bird feather collectors might be into it.
I think I'm going to announce that the winner of all these random pointless points is Chillin. And but they don't count for anything, so who cares?
Yeah.
It's for pride. Sense of pride and
I
accomplishment.
have pride in my Sonic thumbs up. I have a lot of pride in that Sonic.
Those 7 Marth grabs were hard earned.
Yes, they were. All right. Well, that was a great episode, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the 4th episode of Debattle Royale, and we will talk to you all later.
All right. Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
As always, thank you for joining us for Debattle Royale. Debattle Royale is a Qrank production. Special thanks to Chillindude for joining us on today's show. Don't forget to check out all of his Twitch channel, social media, all that good stuff. It will all be in the description down below.